Hey, it's Camila Stevenson, and around here we talk wealth. I want to show you something that most people spend their entire working lives never understanding clearly because you have been navigating with a map that no longer matches the territory. Think about what that means practically. If someone gives you a map of a city and you're an excellent navigator, but the map was printed in 1970 and the city has been completely rebuilt since then, you're lost because the map is wrong. And no amount of trying harder with the wrong map gets you where you're going. Most people who feel financially behind right now, they are just using a map that stopped being accurate decades ago and nobody told them. Now, drop in the comments and let me know, do you feel like you've worked hard all your life and you still feel further behind financially than you expected you would at this point? Yes or no? Now, I want you to go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you have not already, and I want you to know this is not financial advice. Everything I say is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Now, let me take you back to when the rules most of us were given about money were actually written, because understanding when they worked and why is the only way to understand clearly why they stopped working. Now, after World War II, the United States entered one of the most unusual economic periods in modern history. The rest of the developed world had been physically destroyed by war. Europe was rebuilding from rubble. Asia was rebuilding from rubble. The United States was the only major economy that came out of the war with its industrial infrastructure completely intact and actually stronger than before. That meant American workers, your parents' generation, your grandparents' generation, were competing in a labor market where American productivity was essentially unmatched globally. Companies needed workers. Workers had leverage. Wages grew consistently. A single income could support a family, buy a house, fund a retirement, and send kids to college. It was because the economic conditions they operated in were genuinely different from what you're operating in today. And the monetary system they operated in was different too. Until 1971, the US dollar was backed by gold. Every dollar in circulation was supposed to represent a fixed amount of gold sitting in a vault. That physical constraint meant the government could not just create money endlessly. The supply of money was anchored to something real, which meant saving money was genuinely building wealth. The dollar you save today would buy approximately the same amount tomorrow and next year and 10 years from now. So saving was a rational strategy because the measuring stick was stable. In that environment, the rules made complete sense. Work hard, save consistently, stay out of debt. Trust the institutions managing your retirement, invest in your employer's pension, buy a home and pay it off. Those rules were written for a world where labor captured a growing share of economic value, and the currency measuring that value was anchored to something that could not be inflated away. Then, in August of 1971, President Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard. It was a short announcement. Most people didn't even fully understand what it meant at the time. But what it meant was this: the physical constraint on how many dollars could be created was gone. From the moment forward, the government could create as many dollars as it needed to fund its obligations. And let me tell you, it did very consistently year after year and decade after decade. And here's what that did to the map that your parents gave you. Every dollar created beyond what the economy really produces dilutes the value of the dollars that already exist. And it's not in a single year or a single moment, but it is very consistently in one direction over decades. The dollar has lost more than 95% of its purchasing power since 1971. That means the dollar your grandparents saved in 1971 is worth less than 5 cents of what it could buy then. Saving dollars stopped being wealth building the moment the anchor was removed. It just took long enough that most people never connected the cause to the effect. And here's the part that maybe your grandparents or your parents didn't explain to you. In the old world, the gold-backed world, the people who worked hard and saved money captured a real and growing share of economic value. In the new world, the world where money can be created without limit, the people who capture growing economic value are not the ones saving the currency being created. They are the ones owning the assets being purchased with that currency. When money gets created, it has to go somewhere. It flows into assets, real assets, equities, commodities, scarce things with limited supply. The people who own those things see their value rise as more dollars chase the same number of assets. The people holding the dollars see their purchasing power decline as more dollars compete for the same goods and services. That's not a conspiracy. It's not unfair. That is just how the math works when the anchor is gone. The wealthy did not get wealthy because they worked harder than you. Many of them worked less than you. They got wealthy because somewhere along the way, either by learning it or by inheriting it, they understood that in a world without a monetary anchor, the rules changed and they updated their map. They stopped measuring their wealth in dollars saved and started measuring it in assets owned. Assets that appreciate as the currency measuring them weakens. Assets that work independently of how many hours they put in. Assets that compound while they're asleep. Now, that is a shift. That is the new map. And I'm going to show you what that looks like practically for where you are right now. Because understanding why the old rules stop working is only useful if it leads somewhere actionable. And I want to be specific about what the new map really looks like for someone who's building wealth right now in this environment. The shift is not complicated, but it is a complete reversal of how most people were taught to think about money. So the old map said that your labor is your primary wealth building tool. Work more hours, get promoted, earn a higher salary, save a percentage of that salary, repeat for 40 years and retire. The new map says your labor is your starting capital, not your wealth building tool, your starting capital. So the money you earn from working is the seed you use to acquire assets that then work independently of your time. The goal is to not work harder for more dollars. The goal is to own more things that generate value, whether you're working or not. That distinction sounds very simple, but most people have never actually restructured their financial life around it. They earn money, pay expenses, save what's left, and think about investing as something that they're going to do more seriously when they have more money. Now, that sequence put asset ownership last. And when asset ownership is last, it almost never happens at the scale that really is going to change your financial trajectory. So the people building real wealth right now flipped that sequence. Income arrives, a portion moves immediately into assets before anything else, before lifestyle expense increase, before discretionary spending absorbs, and before the week gets busy and intentions fade away. Asset acquisition is not what happens with the leftover. It is the first decision made with every dollar that arrives. Now, let me give you 3 specific shifts that update the map. And these are actual changes in how you think and operate. Shift number 1, stop measuring your wealth in dollars. Start measuring it in assets. See, most people check their bank account balances to assess their financial health. That number tells you how many units of a depreciating currency you currently hold. It does not tell you anything about your actual wealth trajectory. Start tracking what you own that is not in dollars: real estate equity, commodity positions, digital assets, equity in a business, physical gold and silver, the things that appreciate as the currency measuring them weakens. That is your real wealth number. And for most people, that number tells a completely different story than their bank balance. Shift number 2, understand the difference between an expense and an asset. Most people spend their working years accumulating expenses they call investments. A car is not an asset. It depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot. A boat is not an asset. A vacation is not an asset. These things have value, enjoyment value, experience value, but they do not compound. They do not work while you're asleep. They do not appreciate as the currency measuring them weakens. An asset puts money in your pocket or appreciates in value over time independently of your direct effort, meaning real estate that generates rental income, equity positions in companies producing real goods and services, commodities with fixed or shrinking supply, digital infrastructure assets being adopted at institutional scale. Those are assets. Everything else is an expense regardless of how much you paid for it. Shift number 3, your time has a ceiling, your asset do not. This is the fundamental mathematical reality most people never fully internalize. There are only 24 hours in a day. You can only work so many of them, which means your labor income has a hard ceiling. No matter how talented you are, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many promotions you earn, there is a maximum number of hours you can sell and a maximum price per hour the market will pay. Assets have no ceiling. A position in an asset that doubles in value doubles regardless of whether you work that day or not. A position in infrastructure being adopted globally scales with the adoption, not with your hours. The wealthy are not 10 times more talented than you. They are not working 10 times harder. They own things that scale independently of their effort while you are trading time for dollars in a currency that's being diluted. Now, here's where I want to bring this back to, and it's something that's specific and current. We are living through one of the most significant monetary transitions in modern history. The dollar's anchor is shifting. The rules that govern wealth building for the last 50 years are changing again. And just like 1971, most people will not understand what changed until they look back years later and wonder why they feel further behind despite working harder. The people who update their map now, who shift from measuring wealth in dollars to measuring it in assets, who understand the difference between an expense and an asset, who start acquiring things that work independently of their time, those people are not doing something complicated or risky or out of reach. They are just navigating with a map that matches the territory that they're actually in. Now, let me just mention this. The Roth IRA is one of the few tools inside the current system that was specifically designed to let you accumulate wealth and assets without handing a percentage of what you build back to the institution debasing the currency. Inside a Roth IRA, every dollar of appreciation is yours completely, not reduced, not deferred, not subject to rules of a monetary system that was designed to gradually transfer purchasing power away from savers toward asset owners. I hold XRP and gold and silver through ITRUST Capital inside a Roth IRA specifically because I want to own assets that work independently of my time inside a structure that lets me keep everything those assets build. They also have treasury accounts for LLCs and holding companies for those building at the entity level. And they did just add Ripple's own stablecoin. It's now available inside the same structure. So that is something that you can also hold. There's other assets like Solana and Ethereum where you can stake them and already make passive income off of that. And they also have HBAR and XLM and Quant and other digital assets you can hold in the same account. Now, the link is in the description. There's a $100 funding bonus when you fund the account. Now, I also want to add to this that understanding the new map is the beginning. Building a personal financial strategy that actually reflects it, meaning knowing which asset belongs in your specific situation, how much, where they should sit structurally, and what your plan looks like when they move. Well, that is the specific personal work in my clarity calls, and that's what they're designed for. And also, I do have coaching in my community. I coach you every step of the way. We are live together every week, and you are inside of the community learning and growing, full of resources and accountability there. And we help you to understand how to scale your mindset, because I'm telling you, this is really a mindset issue at the end of the day. Now, this isn't generic conversations that we have, your game plan with your assets, and we do walk you through a clear path to financial freedom. The link is in the description for that. Make sure you like the video and subscribe and drop a comment. What is the one asset you own right now that works independently of your time, your salary? And I'm not talking about your savings account. I'm talking about an actual asset. I want to see what this community is building, because the people in this community are not going to be using an old map anymore. We are on to new things, new outcomes, and new opportunities. And as always, I want you to stay wise, stay wealthy, and I'll see you in the next video.